Welcome back to the RPG video series. We're working on combat right now, and I want to do some housekeeping before we can move forward. When we were last working on this, we'd just gotten the weapon equipping to be working, so the models appeared in the hands, the appropriate type of weapon, and that's great. We haven't done the animations yet, although the animations are going to be pretty easy to do. They're just we just have to download and process them right. But I noticed that there's no sphere colliders here in these prefabs. So the work that was done on chasing before in the AI didn't get propagated through in my project. So I'm going to need to do that. I also went and looked at the code here, and I see that on trigger state is here, which is good. So the code that will process the sphere collider is in place. So we just need to hook that up. So I'm going to take a moment to go and drop a sphere collider in. Neither the Orc nor the Nightshade have them. So I'll probably start with the Nightshade here. I'll just add a component, and that should be a sphere collider. And we just need to set a radius, say 5 or so. We'll override that. That will get overridden when the mob is spawned. Okay. Every mob will have a, okay, we can see the sphere collider now as this hemisphere in this case. And this will represent the aggro range. How close we have to get before the creature will attack us. And that's pretty close by. Those are going to be brought way out beyond that, especially if you have ranged attacks. But I think that 30 meters is more likely a reasonable attack range. But I want to be able to verify that this is working here. So what I'm going to do is pause the video for a second and run a few tests. Okay, I'm back. Normally I would just edit this out, but I think that troubleshooting is an important part of programming and certainly an important part of this class. So let's take a look at a few things here. First thing I noticed was that we need to set this as trigger, okay, or it will not be, the trigger will not work. So not having that, what happens, I ran towards the Nightshade and I just ran up and started climbing over that hemisphere. Not quite what I was looking for. But second of all, when I have put some debug rights in there, you see what we're doing is we're entering an ending chase mode. And that's not the behavior we want. Now look at this distance. That's way too high of a distance. I'm about 4 meters away. So there's some confusion going on inside that trigger handler. And this is a good opportunity to go and redo that trigger handler and sort of modernize it a lot. So if we look at this and like, okay. There are a few things going on here that I don't like. One thing is that the behavior of aggroing, of gaining aggro, or having this monster start attacking us, should be abstracted out. I need this in a public function. And I'll just say aggro on this. So why make it a game object? Well, I suppose that you could tell it to attack anything if it was targetable. Possibly a structure, anything. I'm trying to be general here. So it's important that we keep this as general as possible. Now, the aggro code currently is right down here. This is what I was thinking of as aggro stuff. So I'm going to cut this out and paste this up here. And there are a few things that we're going to have to fix here. So I'll, of course, other than the all right. So a few things we're going to need to do here. First of all, we want to get the targetable object, and we want to make sure that it actually can be targeted, because we can't. Someone could pass this and say, go aggro on this rock or this tree or something like that. And that wouldn't, if we were not prepared to have that, if we didn't have target data behind it, that would be bad. So, so targetable was object that was attached to every player is attached to every other object there. We see looking for it here in the nightshade. As I say, it's attached to everybody, and I don't see it. Yeah, it's attached to the orc right here. So this is apparently what's missing here from the nightshade. So we need to get these models so that they match up to each other. And so I'm kind of recovering from this flu that's going around here, so I'm a little bit addle-brained. Let's go down into targets. I'm looking for the targetable script and not finding it. Okay, it's down here under resources for the target rings. Maybe I should move that. But the script here makes something targetable. Okay, so the orcs have it already. The nightshades do not, it would appear. So I'll just add that to it. Very important, because this tells us what type of target we are. Okay. And the code that spawns the NPC should, when it spawns, it creates an NPC object. It should attach it to the targetable script. And I don't recall seeing any errors about that up here. So some error code, some error handling would be nice to do that. But where this came from was this idea: we need to get the target information so that we can find its position, so that we can lock onto it as a target. So I go target dot, we say get component. No, you were doing just fine. Okay, that will obtain it there. We expect the targetable will be same peer as this script. We'll be at the same level. So for example, we have the enemy character control script there, and targetable will be somewhere in this pane, like right there. So you don't have to look hard for it. Okay, so now that we have this targetable thing, we think, we check it. And if it's null, it means it was not targetable. So I'm going to want to get some more. Color equals red. I can just say name here. Name of the object, which is not necessarily the name of the creature. Remember, I was using uppercase and NPC name earlier to distinguish between those two. So that was what the confusion was there. But I want some indication of what this thing is, this object is. And that's not closed tag. All right, so we'll get that. And then return. Okay. That ensures that we have a targetable. Now, the saving off of the old data is correct here. That's good. We want to do that so that we can restore the behavior and the destination. And setting it to the behavior, current behavior to chase is correct as well. Now, we want to load the target. We say target equals before it's other transform. I want to make this aggro target transform. Okay. And it occurs that it would be useful to save the target mob off, which is really the player data would be useful to have. Come back to that in a bit. Aggroing target, and we can just don't stop auto-completing me. Yeah. Let's actually print out the aggro target. And I could print it right here too. there. Okay, so we're saving that off. We set the agent destination of target position, but we need to update destination here as well. That's a bit of a problem. And here I want target dot position. Okay, and I want to also save off the speed that it was running so that we can restore the speed. I don't think I have that up here. I have old destination, and we need to take a look to see what that speed is, what type that is. I think it's a float. Private float old speed. The behavior should be enough to restore the speed because we reset the agent speed usually at the start of each one of these states. But still, it doesn't hurt for me to save it off. Now, I don't want to find myself needing it and not having it. So the current speed is agent speed, I think. Agent.speed. And so we can restore that when we're done here. So we saved off the speed. And I'll debate whether I need to have that mop later on. Now let's go down to this trigger code here. There's a code to abandon the behavior if we're already in chase mode. Okay. So if we're in chase mode, we don't need to enter chase mode again. Next of all, this checking of the tag. I do not like checking tags. That's a string comparison when we can do other things. For example, let's get the targetable. We're going to need to have that if this really is equals other dot get component targetable. And at this point, we can either say, first of all, if it's not targetable, we certainly aren't going to aggro on it. Oh, there's no return here. That means there's no return type. Okay, that will certainly save us from having a problem. And now we can just check the type, though. If targetable dot type equals, remember all of these little things from the, I don't see one for the player. Oh, what an oversight here. Okay, so let's go back into the target type and fix that. Yes, bring this back onto the screen a little bit. And I don't have my targetable here, so we'll go get it. Here it is. Just click on that, bring it up in monodevelop. Okay. Yeah, these are the different target types. So let's just add one more here real quick. Target player. So, well, does the player have one? Well, let's see. Player does not have a targetable. At the time, we were thinking, well, can the player, what type of thing does the player target? You should be able to target yourself. Like if you're going to cast a beneficial spell, that's a perfectly reasonable thing to do. So now we can set it to player. That's a good thing. And that's been saved off. That's good. So I was an enemy character controller. And I was saying earlier, there's the player type. See, that's a quicker way to search to see if we're targeting the player. That can be done in one operation versus a string comparison where we have to do character by character compare. You might ask if I'm doing premature optimization here. This could be called repeatedly. I don't know how many times it's going to be called. It's going to be, I think, pretty frequent calls, so it's justified. Now, I want to know I want the player object. And the reason I want the player object is I want to check to see if it was invulnerable. This is where I made the invulnerability check. If it's a game master, for some reason we want to set our invulnerability flag. That's kind of important because as I turn these things on, I don't want to walk near those orcs and have the entire camp come after me until I'm ready for it. This is for testing, not for play. And so I can just grab the targetable data and I just say as player. Okay. If it's a player type, it should have a player attached to it. Better go back and check the player constructor to see that that gets done. This is probably a good time to do that. Okay, well, there's a bit of work going to need to be done here. First of all, the player should be a mob. Okay, so it's going to inherit all that behavior. And it's shown as a singleton. Although if we had multiple players later on, this would not be a singleton. I'm not going to go change that behavior just yet, but I noticed that we have the instance here, and I want we have a target that's being set here. We should have some sort of mob type, I think, in the mob. Let me take a look at this and see if it was. Not seeing it right now. Well, let's add that. It's important later on when we start doing in combat attacks. We're going to be doing mob on mob combat, not mob on mob, mob on mob combat attacks. So at some point we're going to need to know whether it's a player or not, so that we can print out the right messages. So I'm going to set a mob type, And that means when we go back here to player, it should also set its mob type to target type dot player. Good. Now remember that mobs had all of these attributes and skills. Probably should set those up before I forget, because I'll forget otherwise. Name equals player now. Name the level. Strength, I'm going to set these at 25. Dexterity equals 25. Agility, and I can change those later due to balancing. Okay, those are that. The hit point that we're going to start with is, let's see. This is the formula that was used in EverQuest. So I'll just put that there. And you say, well, why would we need this? No, we're going to start at level 1. I don't know what the stamina is going to be. So this is a formula that we can use to calculate hit points at various levels, and that can be used for mobs as well. Armor class. And now I want to create the skills. Now if I go back over here to this is a net NPC skills. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to just call that from right here, because even though we're not an NPC, I want those skills filled in so that we have something. And I want to set the did I make an invulnerable flag here? Let me go check to see if that was yeah, I'm going to put this up in here someplace, because I'm double checking that, because any mod I might want to flag as invulnerable if it's part of a quest. So public bool we can set that this way. The mob constructor should probably set it as fault. And I'm looking for one. I don't see that we even have a mob constructor. Well, let's make one. Now, the skills, that makes a good point there. The skills need to be added in. What does skills skills are right there. How do those get created? I'm looking for this. The NPC create them. That dictionary needs to be built. I'm surprised it isn't breaking left and right all over the place, because we cannot have a dictionary. We're calling, oh, the skills aren't being built over here. That's not calls not being made. All right, we'll get there. I know this is kind of crazy, but so the skills dictionary has not been used before. This is the first time that NPC skills have been called. I want to set skills equal to new dictionary, and that was a skill type mapped to an integer. There. So now it has it. I'm thinking, do I want to just override that skills? No, we'll let the individual classes set that. Even though I am calling it NPC skills here, I might want to, I'll probably do that differently later on, especially if we're reloading from a save or something like that. Let's turn off those line ending messages. And the invulnerable flag. So mobs will start out without that set. And then we'll let the player, actually I want, this is the player. I want the mob down here. Okay, good. It's set defaults. All right, I think we got the invulnerable flag taken care of. See, I was working on the player constructor to see what else we need to do here. The player needs a weapon. And I have to go back and check to see how did see, this equip weapon over here is for an NPC. That's not a good thing. Yeah, so we don't have ability to equip a weapon here for the player. I'm looking at it again to see, are we storing anything? Where is the actual weapon type set? Maybe in the NPC constructor? Equip weapons is right here. Okay, well I need to set these two variables here. But it does bring up a question here. Maybe that is not something that should be done at the NPC level. The idea of having a weapon attachment point should apply to the player as well. And I'm not sure what I'm using it for the player. Models. Oh, okay, we're using that. This model here, the knight, actually has a few problems with it, as I recall. It looks correct as far as the skeleton, but I believe that its type was wrong. Just kind of going off at the top of my head here. If I could find that the knight, that's why I switched it. Okay, so if I take a look at one of the animations, and I look at rig, see, it made it generic. I can't change it to a humanoid because it's not a humanoid avatar, I don't believe. So we just try it here. See, it changed it back. I have to change it back to generic, otherwise it won't work. The knight was a bad model to take off Mixamo. That's why I went and downloaded the paladin model with all of its animations. And so I'm going to swap that out. Fortunately, no, it doesn't matter. This is just a child of the first-person controller, a first-person character. So, and it has an animator. I thought there was an animator up here. See, maybe not. I will get rid of this. Go away. And now I'll take the Paladin's prefab. That's this right here. Well, so I can just drop them right there. And now if I go and try to import an animation, he is set to humanoid with the correct avatar. Right. So that was helpful there. I didn't realize that Knight had a problem. The reason that I want to do, I'd mentioned that I wanted shadows to work right. I also want the weapon swings to look correct. And the other thing is that, as we saw in the early demo, which was kind of unfortunately not very complete, I really needed to show the player swinging this weapon better. So I think it would be a good idea, even though I'm using a first-person controller, to give us the option of moving the camera back into a third-person mode. I don't want to change the whole controller. I just want to change the position of the camera. So this camera is right here. Well, I could either move the camera into a separate game object and then move it around. That's probably not a bad idea. I'll consider doing that in a bit, but just that thought of I want to move the camera needs to be in the back of my mind, because that's why I'm messing with these models. I want to be able to attach a weapon model to this, just like I would a mob. And that tells me, an NPC, that tells me then that equipping a weapon is a function of the mob and not the NPC. So I made a wrong choice earlier. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and create a game object here to hold the camera. And I don't want it to be part of it down here. Okay, all right, that's fine. I will take this camera here and find where it is. Well, I just had the thing. It's down here. I want the camera to be attached to the first-person character as a child, just like the model is. And I will copy the component, and then I will paste it down here. So we still have the camera, but it's no longer, I will remove it from here. Flare layer, okay. Well, we will just all right. If I copy the camera, the audio listener, the flare layer over there, then there's nothing left in this first-person controller thing here, first-person character. That I don't want to do, when I move the camera, I don't want it to move the model as well. So I'm thinking about this for just a second. Maybe I can move the camera up here. Instead of under the first-person character, and then pull those. Well, maybe the model doesn't need to be a child of this first-person character, but maybe a child of it over here. Let's try this. I'll get rid of this camera, and let me run this with this. The controller seems to work okay. No problems there. That's good. I don't see any errors in the console. So there's always that danger when we're changing things. All right, that means the camera can stay over here. It has a different transform than this, which has the animator, and the player, which has the rigid body. And I'm looking to see where that mesh is. And I'm not seeing it right now. Maybe it's down underneath here. Well, there's the mesh render right there. Okay, so these are completely different coordinate systems now. And I can move this back if I want to without affecting the player model. So I can move the camera back without affecting the camera model. Let's go back in here and here. Well, I'm up in the air. That's a good thing to know. What I don't see is my collider. There's my capsule collider. Off the ground, which is not good. Okay, so why do I do this? Well, this object right here controls where the character is. In pure first-person mode, the camera should be roughly where the head is. Okay, so I'll put it there. And then I will, if I want to introduce a third-person mode, I can move the camera back here, and then I can rotate it. Make sure I get it right on the right axis. You know, so I can move the camera around independently of the model, and that will let me move around. Get no animations running. That's probably okay because the controller is not sending the proper commands to Mechanim. And I'll address that later. But the first thing is I want to be able to have the model in there, and I want to be able to attach weapons to the player. All right, so I'm going to take a break here, and we'll pick up on this in just a few minutes. Let me pause the video and fix a few things. Actually, the reason I'm kind of hesitating here is I have a meeting in a few minutes, and I want to make sure that I don't that I get to that and I'm not interrupted in the middle of this. But since I have a little bit of time, this is the animation set for, and it says Nightshade, but am I really looking at the player? That's weird. Why is this being using Nightshade animations? When the all right, I'll have to pause this. Okay, I went and looked at it. I don't have an animation controller attached to this. That's a problem here. So I had created one of these earlier. I'll assign that. There might be some warnings that there's some generic animations here. So I'll need to go and find that to see what's going on with this. Okay, but importantly down here, Paladin Animator Controller. So let's see what we have here. These animations are, let's take a look at them. Paladin Idle, Humanoid, Paladin Right Turn, Humanoid, Paladin Left Turn, Walking in Place, to running animation. Okay, so none of these are going to cause a problem. So it's probably some of these animations over here that there's nothing in that layer. Oh, okay. Orc and stuff like that. These, I don't know which animations these are. So they may very well be the improper animations. I'm not going to worry about that right now. The important thing, though, is that the this blend tree looks correct. Okay, looks like we're running a, oops. The controller's working okay. He's just not running his block run animations, and that's because he is not the script is not sending proper things to Mechanism. So I'll need to look into that, and we'll pick up on that later. Since I've got my meeting to come to him in this video a little early, and then we'll pick it up on another video. So sorry if this was a little disjointed, but we're getting there. What we're doing is this is all about kind of cleanup stuff. I want the character and player to share a lot of behaviors with the NPCs. They're all mobs. They all have weapons. They all should run their animations correctly. And that will make combat a lot easier because we have everything homogeneous. And there aren't special cases for this and that. There will need to be a little bit of special cases when it comes to the messages that go to the console. Okay, you hit this this guy hits you. Those things will need to be a little bit different, whether we're dealing with a mob or an NPC, but not the general stuff.